I love it. I appreciate the suggestion.
Russ, whenever you want to get started, you can go ahead and get started.
Well, I'm not sure that we have a quorum yet.
Let me see. I thought I saw everybody. Hold on just a second. Let me go back.
We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
We do. We do.
I don't think we really need to have a quorum for a work session.
We absolutely
Yes, we
do.
have to. Yes.
Oh, okay.
We learned that, Stacy. Yes, we did. And tomorrow I will be learning more about how to do teams from Stacy Folbars. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate you making time in your schedule to do that for me.
Whenever you're ready to do roll call, Russ.
Okay, well, yeah. So welcome everybody to really our first work session, at least in a long time, of the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living. I'm Russ Randall, I chair the commission, and I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the commission to order at 12:02 p.m. And Lisa, you can go ahead and do roll call.
All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me. As I said, I'm at a remote location, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear me in the background there. Okay, we have Keith Becker.
Present.
And Sarah Dorman, I know could not make it. Stephanie Burwell, I have not heard from her. Susan, is it Parrington?
Purrington.
Parrington,
Yeah,
I'll get there right. Sorry about that. Michelle Eisenberg? No Michelle. Russ Randall?
I'm here.
And Rachel Simakanda.
Present.
All right, we do have a quorum to get this meeting started.
Thank you, Lisa. And I would like to again welcome everyone to our commission meeting. And special thanks for city staff folks who are attending as well. Our commission's duty is to advise the Flagstaff City Council on all issues affecting the city of Flagstaff in relation to individuals with disabilities. All commissioners, and I guess guests as well, should have their microphones on mute to keep the background noise out of the chat room. The chair of the meeting, that would be me, should ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak as they would like. And I promise I will do my best with that. Sometimes it's hard for me to pay attention to a lot of different things going on at the same time. But commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair they would like to make a statement. And the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order in which they appear. And then one other thing, for this commission, in the interest of accessibility for all, commissioner cameras should be on when they are speaking. And we decided that quite a long time ago. It's just, for some folks, it's better to see the person as they are actually speaking. So for this commission, we have our cameras on when we are speaking. And then I think I saw something pop up in the chat. And the mayor will not be attending today, and she had a conflict arise, and we will miss her. But thanks for letting me know that, Stacy. And I think next, what I'd like us to do is to reach out to the commissioners, and if the commissioners have anything to share with regards to going on relative to the disabled community of Flagstaff, this would be the time to do that. So, Rachel, do you have anything to share? Rachel, do I still have?
She did have her hand up. Go ahead, Rachel.
I just allowed her back into the
I
meeting.
I got kicked out for some reason. Let me turn my camera on. So last Tuesday, Russ and I presented our sidewalk encroachment presentation, and we got some really good feedback from all of the commissioners. Robert from Sustainability, who is here today, also spoke about the what are you calling it, Robert? The Snow Buddy program, the Snow Angel program?
Rachel, I think that might be a different staff member.
Okay, it was Scott then. And then we got some suggestions, and one of the things we want to talk about today is how to move forward, which is why we invited Robert and Scott here and Reggie. So we will talk to Robert and move forward with what our next steps are. And then the work group, that is the 3 commissioners and 1 person from the public, will move forward, not this Friday, but next Friday on our next steps. The other thing is Amy Hagan from PROS. Amy, I can never remember what the E stands for, but Parks and Recreation Open Space.
And
Sorry.
events.
And events. Also wants to talk about something that we will be doing with her. And then I see that Jamie has joined the session. Is that right?
I'm looking. I don't see Jamie Martinez on the list.
Oh, he just sent me a message. No, he's not attending. And then the last thing is for us. Yeah, I forgot it. If I remember, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, Rachel, and one other thing, since we do have a new member of the commission, or a relatively new member of the commission, Rachel, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're on the commission?
Yeah, my name is Rachel Simiconda, and I'm the vice chair. And I am disabled. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm an amputee. And I wanted to be part of this commission because I just want to help with inclusiveness and adaptability getting around this town. And I know that we've got an aging population as well as young NAU students. And so I just wanted the opportunity to help possibly change laws, make laws, enforce laws, that sort of thing. And so that's why I'm on the commission.
Excellent. And thanks for that introduction and for sharing your information. And I think you left one thing off of your introduction.
Oh, I forgot. Russ is my favorite teacher.
Thank you for that, Rachel. And you should always remember to say that. You know, whether it's true or not, you should always remember to say that. Rachel, what year did you graduate from Coconino High School?
Oh, too far back when the dinosaurs roamed.
Yeah,
1988.
which was like my 8th or 9th year of teaching. So what does that say for me? But thank you, Rachel, and thank you for sharing. Kevin, did you want to share something and or introduce yourself? Keith, I'm sorry, not Kevin, Keith.
Okay. I've been in Flagstaff for 45 years, almost 46. And I joined the commission because my wife is legally blind and she has difficulties getting around town, especially in the wintertime with the snow and all that. And I'm half deaf and I've got a whole lot of other little issues. But I joined the commission because back around 2018, I believe it was, I almost saw a little girl get hit by a truck on a street because she had to get out into the street to get around a vehicle parked on the sidewalk. And so I decided I started with the pedestrian committee and made a couple of, I didn't join them, I just made some comments. And towards the end of it, one of the folks there, this was when we were still meeting in person for things. One of the folks there said, "Hey, why don't you join the disability commission? Because that's probably more along the lines of what you're talking about." They were more concerned about getting sidewalks put in and stuff like that. And me, I think, and it's nothing against them. Believe me, they do a lot of good stuff. But my thought is good sidewalks are great. They're beautiful. We love them, but they're useless if you can't walk on them and can't get from point A to point B. So anyway, that's why I'm here.
And thanks, Keith. And we are glad you are here. And
I'll have to tell you, I can't turn on a camera because where I live, I'm lucky to get 1 meg of internet, and seeing everybody else's cameras going and stuff like that. If I turned on my camera, it would be broken like this. You'd never see anything. So that's it.
yeah. And Keith, and thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing. And Keith, you know, I think you really were the impetus for this commission to investigate sidewalk obstacles and encroachment in the city, and I'm glad we did. So thank you for bringing that to our attention too. I see Susan. I think you would be next for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Purring-Swan. I am a professor at NAU. I specifically teach in the Parks and Recreation Management program and am a certified therapeutic recreation specialist, starting a recreational therapy graduate certificate program here. So my background has been working with people with disabilities for the last 20 plus years. And then in the last year, I founded a nonprofit called Welcomed Here. And the organization's mission is to improve the inclusive customer experience for individuals going into communities and doing what they want to be able to do without limitations. So we provide free workshops and trainings for organizations to improve their spaces to be more inclusive. And so I was really interested in being part of this commission in order to understand some of the intricacies of the city of Flagstaff. And since I have only been here for about 2 years, I want to be able to contribute both in my knowledge and skills, but also be able to listen and help think differently. I also do have 2 non-apparent physical disabilities and am neurodivergent. So part of who I am is what I do in addition. So I really appreciate being on the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and we truly appreciate you being on the commission and bringing your expertise with you to the commission work. So welcome. We're thrilled to have you on board.
Thank you.
And then I don't know, did Michelle come in? I don't think so.
No, Michelle did not come in.
Thanks. So, and then I guess I should introduce myself too. I'm Russ Randall. I worked for 41 years for Flagstaff Unified School District. About 2/3 of that time as a special education teacher and a case manager. And then about 1/3 of that time, the last 15 years, as the transition coordinator. I coordinated the transition from school to work program for the district, which is a program for students with disabilities that assists them as they transition to adulthood, whether that's going to college, whether that's going to work, to the military, moving out on their own, all that kind of transition stuff. So I coordinated that program out of Coconino High School for the district for the last 15 years of my career. And then, like Susan, I also have a disability myself. My disability is a non-visible or one of those less visible disabilities. I've been diagnosed with PTSD from some things that have occurred in my life and my personal reaction to it. But I have been on the commission. I have served on the commission on and off. I think for about the last decade. And then I'm thrilled that you all elected me to be your chair. I appreciate your confidence in me to do that. So, and then as a point of information, I can report that last Friday, I think, Rachel and I met with Mariah and Lisa and Alan and Stacy Salzberg, who is our city clerk, and Stacy Fobar, who is our deputy city clerk. And we met last Friday, and Alan, and we met to talk about the practices and protocols of this commission. I also met and learned that Alan is retiring from the city and will not be working with this commission any longer, which I was kind of sad on the hair. I liked working with Alan a lot. We also discussed that this work session will be occurring every 3rd Wednesday of the month at noon, and that as an official meeting of city commission, I mean, it really does become an official meeting because we're talking about official business. And as such, we do need to have a quorum and we do need to have an agenda and minutes need to be taken. And I think I said that all right, right? Stacy and Stacy?
Yes, you did.
So that will be the third Wednesday of every month. And then our fourth Wednesday of every month at noon will continue to be our regular commission meeting. If that makes sense to everyone. Okay, I think next on our agenda, we have time for our update from our city staff liaison. And I guess that would be Lisa and or Mariah.
Hi, everyone. Again, my apologies for not being on camera today as I am going through remote right now. So my visuals in the background are not up to par, so to speak, and there may be some background noise. I don't have any specific updates right now. As my last update, I said the city council was still having inquiries about the NAH hospital. I'm kind of staying on top of that and listening for anything in particular that I need to bring to the commission, but that would be the only thing that I wanted to update you guys on today.
Okay, and thank you for that, Lisa. And did you want to tell us a little about yourself?
Oh, absolutely. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Lisa Renee Cada. I am one of the HR analysts for the city of Flagstaff, and I sit on several commissions with the city, including the Inclusive and Adapting Living Commission. And I handle compliance, training and development, and also employee relations.
Excellent, and thank you for that, Lisa. And then, Lisa, I'm just like checking with you. Have you been able to send out that letter from the commission to the city council?
I'm actually going to refer that over to Stacy Salzberg. Go ahead, Stacy.
Thanks, Lisa. So that letter did come to me. We are reviewing it right now. And Russ, I will likely be following up with an email to you today or tomorrow, just with some feedback, and then we'll get it off to the council.
Okay, sounds good. And then, oh, and Lisa, I sent you, I think my bio just to be sent out to the commission members. Have you been able to do that?
Yes, I believe that was sent out by Mariah. So
okay.
You all should have it. And if not, we'll double check and make sure that it did get sent to everybody.
No, I still have that letter. I was going to send it out with the minutes and the agenda for the meeting next week, if that's okay, or I can send it out today if you'd prefer.
No, that next week is fine, Mariah. I appreciate you doing that. And Mariah, it's nice to kind of see your face and to meet you. And Mariah, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I joined the city back in February. Previously, I worked in corporate America. I was a district manager for Speedway and 7-Eleven for a while. And then I decided to redirect my career back into HR, which is just where my heart is what I love to do. And so I assist Lisa and Alan for a couple more months with this commission, as well as CODA. And then I'm also part of Jennifer Caputo's team with benefits and leaves.
Well, good for you. And Mariah, I have to, and you have an MBA, don't you?
I do, yes.
You look kind of young for all that stuff. Okay. Good for you. And you're kind of, we're welcoming you to our commission too, because you are kind of our new liaison along with Lisa. So welcome to the commission, and we appreciate your support and your future support as we anticipate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think Estella is here.
No, I didn't see her log on, so I don't think she's here today.
And Estella always comes to our regular commission meetings. This being a work session, maybe not as necessary or important, I guess, for her. But then one other thing, Lisa, I think Estella is really our transportation liaison.
You know what? I do believe that that's the way we had her titled several months back, and we can definitely update that. And I didn't notice the change until just now when you said that. Yes. Yeah, we did have her as transportation liaison.
Right. And thank you for that, Lisa. And just for everybody else, Estella works for NAPTA. I think she's the mobility planner still for NAPTA. But she comes and reports to us about what's going on with regards to NAPTA primarily, and Mountain Line and all that kind of stuff. So very good, and thanks, Lisa. And then I don't think we do not have a youth liaison, and we typically have two youth liaisons that are appointed to this commission, and they really get appointed by the Northern Arizona Community of Practice Transition Team. And last year, Michelle Eisenberg and I were actually appointed by that team to be the youth liaisons to this commission. And what the youth liaisons do is kind of report what's going on with youth in the city, youth with disabilities, perhaps in particular, and then also what's going on with the Community of Practice Transition Team. And since Michelle is not here, I will report that the Community of Practice Transition Team is facilitating a youth transition fair on October 27th from 9 till 12. And it's at Coconino Community College. And at the transition fair, I actually think former city council member Al White and former commission member Al White will be the keynote speaker presenting to the youth who attend. And then I think there are going to be 12 breakout sessions, and the breakout sessions cover things from programs that they can be involved with at CCC to disability resource programs that they can hook up with, to Voc Rehab and what kind of services they can get from Voc Rehab. I know Colleen Snyder is going to join us she's the HR director at Little America, and she's going to talk about what employers are looking for in employees. And again, that's on October 27th at CCC from 9 to 12. And I know Coconino High School is going to be there with a group, and Flag High, and I know Gray Hills and Ponderosa, I think, but I'm not sure, probably, 75 to 100 kids. So, but y'all are welcome to come as well and kind of step in and kind of check out. And also there will be pizza there. So if you want to stop by for a slice of pizza, come on by. We'd love to see you. Then also I see in my notes that with regards to the youth liaison positions, and again, we usually have two of those that are filled, but we do have one applicant who has informed the Community of Practice Transition Team that he would be interested in being the youth liaison. And that would be Joseph Spence. He's currently the vice chair of the Community of Practice Transition Team. And Joseph is actually one of my former students. And I think it's okay for me to say Joseph would identify as someone having a disability. Joseph is also a young man who is a friend of mine now, and he's a really strong advocate as well. But he has not yet been appointed by the Community of Practice Transition Team. I think that will probably happen at their next meeting. But I did want to let you know that we have had one person apply for that position. And then I'm not sure if I've heard of anybody else who is applying. Rachel, do you know?
I do not know. There are a couple people I need to still reach out to again, but so far they have not applied.
Okay. And Rachel, thanks for sharing that. And like anybody else, commissioners, staff members, if you know of someone who would be interested in being our youth liaison, because we'd like to fill both those positions, but the youth liaison really is responsible for attending these meetings, and maybe especially our regular commission meetings, but also to attend the Community of Practice Transition Team meetings. And they meet once a month on Tuesday afternoons, and then kind of liaison between the two, between our commission and that Community of Practice Transition Team, and sharing information really about what's going on with the youth in the city. But we'd love to have another applicant or two. So, okay, I do not see, do we have any members of the public who are here?
I don't see anyone, Russ, other than the people that we invited to today's meeting, but no extras.
And those folks are city staff members, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't think I need to read about the public participation, right? Since we don't have any public participation happening.
Correct.
Okay, so next up, I guess we're ready to talk about our discussion items that are on the agenda. And Rachel, you already started talking about our presentation to the city council on sidewalk obstruction and encroachment. So Rachel, you want to talk a little bit more?
Sure. So one of the things that we had talked about in our working group is sidewalk issues with snow. And the city has been working really hard on putting together like a snow angel, snow buddy, I'm not sure what they're calling it, program. But it would identify households that were either elderly or disabled. Different groups or different people could go out and help clear their sidewalks. So I think we don't have Scott here, so I don't know how much further we can go with that. But I know that Robert, you were also involved in some of that. And Amy, I see that your hand is up, so take it away, sister.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Amy Hagan, the Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. So sidewalk clearing, it's a combination of a handful of us staff members at the city. When snow operations itself intermingles with public works, and that's where our streets department is held. And so that snow operation, Parks and Recreation, open space and events, we have a snow operation and snow assignments, if you will, and tasks for us to complete during a snow event. Reggie and his group in co-compliance also have partaken a snow operation and working with a lot of our business owners or residents during our snow events. It takes a village, literally, to perform a snow operation. So I do know a little bit, and I'm sure Reggie may know some more, or even Robert within co-compliance. There's been a lot of discussion on how do we create, I believe the naming that we may attempt to use is a Snow Heroes program, to where it'd be a volunteer base going out into the community and assisting those with sidewalk clearing at their personal property or even driveways. And so I want to note for this group, as city staff, weren't able to go on to private property and perform a snow operation. We're able to, so parks, our snow operation entails those sidewalks in the urban trail system. That's a hard surface, so a concrete or asphalt. But we're able to, we clear those sidewalks that are in front of city buildings or city-owned property. And then the urban trail that is a hard surface, and work closely with Mountain Line, because then a lot of the bus stops, there's 160 bus stops that Mountain Line is responsible for attempting to clear, and those priority routes and using public transportation. A part of that parks snow operation is what we call the courtesy berm removal program. I'm sure we're all too familiar with that berm that gets created when the plow truck on the roadway comes by, creates that berm, whether if it's on the back side of your or front side of your sidewalk or at your driveway approach in those circumstances, or even approaches to businesses, you name it, that berm hits everywhere. So Parks has a program, it's an application program with specific criteria to meet, where park staff will go out and clear the berm created at the end of the driveway of that resident. We're unable to go and tackle the snow that's on the sidewalk or within the driveway, basically within that private property. And that's where this notion came into play in conversations with other city staff and with our city council to what other programs can we create that extend beyond this courtesy berm removal program. I can tell you, and so we'll dive into that and what the Snow Heroes may resemble. And I think it's going to be a phased approach, because it can be really difficult to create some gigantic program out of the gates kind of thing, especially when you're working with a volunteer system for it. And I'll tee it up and kick it off to either you, Reggie, or Robert. Not sure who's available to talk about it. But the idea is do we start with those residents that are already on this courtesy berm program within parks? We've got contact information for these individuals. We touch base at the beginning of the season. So it started in August with a postcard mailer to all the individuals that were a part of the program at the end of the last snow season in April, ensuring that you still need to have this service, that this is your address, all those particulars. Thank you, Reggie. It'll be Kevin Dunlap that can hop in. So that's one idea in working with also sustainability offices and Stephen over there in code compliance is that the first group we start with? Do we contact that group? Right now, it's a little bit over 90 households or addresses, if you will, that are a part of the courtesy berm program. It did increase in upwards of over 160 during the snow season, and we see that a lot. And then we see some shifts before we go into our next snow season. So I do know city staff have discussed that. Do we start with that group and see about if they would be interested in basically opting into a Snow Heroes program if we have volunteers that can assist with clearing again of their sidewalk and or driveway? Take it away, Kevin.
Yes, good afternoon. The big idea for code compliance is one of the things that we need to really realize is that we always seem to have the sidewalks clear. This is why we're here. However, a lot of times we as individuals go out, if we see a sidewalk that's not clear, we try to make contact with the individuals at the house to see if they're capable of doing it. That's because we don't know who needs help unless we make contact or unless they contact us. In that process, we make sure we can try to get up there and help them out in that way or another, or maybe get their neighbors to help out. But it is going to be quite a large process, as we say. I mean, there's only like a handful of us that can actually make contact with those people. But if you could start spreading the word now to contact code compliance and parks, and we can work together as a team and try to make things that are clear for everyone. Especially this past winter, it was very difficult. We could not get an upper hand on it. And this is why it brings it up today is like, what are we going to do about it? And so we get out there, we use community service workers. We contracted people out on the more heavy side of foot traffic. But right now, as we've been talking, code compliance has really been working on how do we get the upper hand and provide what tools do we need to make it more simple.
So I guess I have a question for either Amy or Kevin, a couple of questions. Number one, where are you finding your volunteers?
Well, that's the thing is a lot of times I also work with people who are in recovery court and they need community service. We've often had times where people would volunteer one time, right? And it's pretty much just helping, like for instance, in my neighborhood, what happens is we'll have one individual go through with a snow blower, but then after that, it starts building up, the snow plows start covering up the sidewalk again, and there might be a great time for a one-time volunteer, but after that, people say, I can't do it. My back hurts. It's a daunting task to make sure that all sidewalks are cleared off.
Okay, so then my next question would be, I know that you have about 90 households right now, but is there, or where would we be able to send a disabled or elderly citizen to apply for that program?
Great question, Rachel. I will place in the chat the courtesy berm relocation application. It's available on the city's website, but for ease, I'm going to place the link in this chat for all the commissioners so that you can grab it. And it's a PDF fillable document, so the individual can fill it out and literally email it back. So that way there's not obstacles of needing to print, deliver anywhere, anything like that. It's a fairly straightforward form to fill out. For the most part, the criterion on it is an exact match of a MVD placard. And then there are some additional items on there. It's especially for if, walking greater than, I believe it's 200 feet. If that is something that your physician does not advise, that is another item that is considered a viable criterion to meet that application. So I'll plop that in the chat so that way that's available to more, each year when we do a kind of snow operations update to city council, that's one of our opportunities to try to get the word out, but it can be a difficult program to ensure that all of our community members are aware of this program.
Okay. So then my other question is that I know that that's one way that this commission can help you. Is there anything else that this commission can do to support this program, move this program forward? Anything that our commission can do?
I would think just to, publicize it, put it in the paper, let people know, Facebook, next door, because a lot of times people won't know that there's a need until it's actually been visible. And
Okay.
little advertisements like that, I think that's the best way to do it.
Okay. Thanks for the link, Amy. Stacy Salzberg, I guess I have a question for you. Is it possible for this commission to create either a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, something so that we can start putting stuff like this online?
I would recommend that you utilize the page, the commission's webpage that is set up by city staff. There would not be an ability to set up your own social media or YouTube account through the city resources. So you can certainly post stuff on, you can work with your liaisons to post some information on your commission's page.
Lisa, can we get stuff to you after our next work session, not this Friday, but next?
Yes.
Okay. And then Reggie, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. I'm kind of in between meetings, so I just wanted to jump on for a minute. One of the things I would recommend, if you all have a list of where a lot of those individuals are throughout the community that need assistance, that would be beneficial to us, because sometimes we don't know unless we're able to make direct contact with them. So if you have a list of individuals that could utilize this help, that would help us, even if it's just staff going out to those properties during those occasions where we can help them. That would be really, really beneficial to us.
Okay, I do have a list of, I don't know, so far it's only 5 properties that I've made contact with and talked to them. And so I will get that sent to you in the next couple of days, Reggie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I think that's all I have, Russ.
And I have a couple questions too. So with regards to the courtesy snow berm removal program, so my understanding is that the snow berm can actually be removed by city staff, but not the sidewalk or the driveway, right?
That's correct, Russ. Yeah, so city staff, we're not able to take city fleet or city resources and clear private property, but we're able to we relocate the snow, the berm that's created at the end of the driveway, because it's still in the right of way. So that we're able to do, but the other pieces we're not able to do.
Gotcha. And then, but Kevin, I think I heard you say that volunteers and or community service workers who maybe are not truly volunteers, but maybe volunteers in a different way, But they can go on private property?
So they can. We've had that happen before, maybe once or twice. Especially with people. I mean, that stone was so bad last year that people couldn't get out of their door, and they were able to contact us. So we were able to do that because one, we're walking around with a shovel. We can't get really heavy equipment in there to get them outside the door. That's more of a above and beyond type, because if we continue to do that with majority, we will fall way behind, because what we're trying to do is make sure the sidewalks are cleared off and make sure that people can get out the door. But yes, a lot of times community service, and they do like doing it, but then we also paid contracted out with those other areas in town where they would like crosswalks by, what was it? Man, there's a school. I forget what it's called. Well, there was Kinsey, and then there's D. Miguel. We had a lot of problems over there, and there was probably maybe close to 40 hours of working to try to clear that out with community service to get those sidewalks cleared off for everyone who's walking there down the school.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that. I live in that neighborhood of D. Miguel. So then, Kevin, if a volunteer or a community service worker goes on a private property, and if that person gets hurt, is that like the city covers that liability situation?
So we would contact risk management when that happens. Hopefully we tell them to just be safe, take your time, don't dehydrate. Because a lot of these guys, when I say community service, these guys are trying to fulfill their time that they've been penalized for it. But then when it comes down to hiring outside, we had KCS Construction help us out. We paid for them, so they would be liable, I believe, on the KCSs. But if there's anyone, such as myself, that gets hurt, it's just risk management. We'll always make sure risk management knows what was going on and let them be informed. And then they are able to take it to the next level if it has to go that way.
Right. And what is risk management, Kevin?
Risk management is a department that is over everything that happens within the city of Flagstaff. If there's an accident, a slip, a fall, anything that would require either medical attention or have gotten hurt, we as city employees are supposed to report anything that happens to us on the clock.
So a volunteer would be treated the same as a city staff?
Correct. So I also run the graffiti busters, and unfortunately a volunteer took our graffiti van 60 feet down a fence. And according to risk management, as long as they follow what they have said and stated of what they need to do, it would be covered under the city for that.
That's good to hear. That is very good to hear. And the reason I ask all that stuff, Kevin, is obviously we want to grow and really establish and grow the Snow Heroes program. And, and we'd love to see 100 volunteers, right? But it might be more attractive for a person to be a volunteer if they know if they were injured slipping on the ice as they're shoveling, that the city would cover them, right? So,
right. And so there is a little caveat right there, is that if they are going to volunteer for the city, we would require them to fill out a volunteer form along with giving information and driver's license. So that way that HR and risk management has all that information in case something does happen.
Gotcha.
Kevin, would you mind sending that to our commission as well? Because I think one of the things our work session will do is work on maybe getting together a list of potential places where we can give you volunteers. And if we can have them fill that out before they reach out to you, I think it would help. It would help you guys.
Yes. So let me get with risk first, because we have a graffiti buster form, but we want to make sure we have one for the snow whatever we're calling this, the snow helpers or snow, I don't know what it is, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Snow
Get that-
heroes.
Yeah, thank you.
And
That way we're making sure that everything is crossed, all I's are dotted, and make sure there's nothing that we're missing. So let me start with that first. And
Okay.
then when that gets approved by HR and risk, then we can start sending that out.
Okay. Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Keith, I know that you've got something to say. You're part of the working group, so go ahead.
Okay, the snow berm removal, my wife is legally blind, and we applied for the snow berm removal back in 18, and I had just had a quadruple bypass. We applied for it, and we filled out the paperwork, and we got something in the mail a couple of weeks later saying, "Oh, we can't remove the snow berm from your area because it's a trailer court." Well, I hate to say, but there's no trailer court roadway. Okay. Our trailer goes right out to the public street, just like a regular driveway does. And so we got denied because we were told, no, you're in a trailer court. And we didn't pursue it after that. I did have a couple of friends came over that helped me remove snow that year. But anyway, that's one of the things that I experienced with the snow berm removal thing. The other thing that I noticed we were talking about that the city can't do sidewalks. Does that mean all sidewalks are private property, or most of them are private property, or what's the deal here? Because if it's sidewalk and if it's public property, then they should be able to go on it. And that's all I have at the moment.
And I think, Amy, you want to respond to that, right?
Sure, I can respond to both of those. So with your experience, Keith, with the courtesy berm program, I should have articulated earlier. So if the applicant is in an apartment complex where that it's not a private resident, if you will, if there's multiple end users to that driveway entrance or driveway approach, then that does fall on the property owner, which would be, say, the apartment complex, or I'm not 100% certain in your example from 2018, and would be happy offline outside of this to review that with you in a one-on-one basis to ensure that you were properly informed 5 years ago of what that response was. But so yeah, in an example of an apartment complex or a condo community where there might be an HOA or another group that is responsible for that snow clearing, that is some of those circumstances where the courtesy berm program does not fit. So yeah, sidewalks, great. I'll move on to the second question and comment that Keith had regarding sidewalks. So the adjacent property owner is essentially the owner or of maintenance of that sidewalk. That could be a business. So that could be Amy Higgins yogurt shop, or that could be a private residential or a condo or an apartment complex, which is going to have a property owner. So the adjacent property owner from end to end of their property line is who the responsible party is for that sidewalk. So those city-owned properties, even if there's not a city facility on it, that's where the city is responsible for clearing that sidewalk. And that is what some of my team does in a snow event. All those city-owned properties and those city-owned sidewalks. I get that it can be really difficult to absorb because the sidewalk is for the entire public to use, right? Completely understand that. However, the maintenance responsibility, so that is with that snow, or if there was debris covering the sidewalk, impeding proper travel around it, that would directly go to the adjacent property owner.
Okay, so I guess where my question sort of comes in is, let's say you're a private residence and you've got a sidewalk, you can't shovel it. And so the snow berm thing won't take care of that. But then you're saying that these volunteer things might be able to do that. Is that okay? So my second part is my driveway and nobody else gets to park in it. Okay. And same thing with my neighbor's driveway. I don't park in their driveway. It's just like a regular residence. Okay, even though it's a trailer park, and of course my landlord's in his 90s, so he's not going to come out and shovel it. I guarantee you that. So anyway, I mean, I really have a hard time understanding the sidewalk thing. I mean, I realize the property owner adjacent to the sidewalk has to clear it, but if it's not part of their legal property, if they don't actually own where the sidewalk is, I realize the ordinance says they have to clear it, but if it doesn't belong to them, then the city ought to be able to bring somebody in there to clear that. And I think they do. If somebody fails at a couple of warnings and they don't clear it, then the city comes in and clears it and then charges them. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time kind of understanding who actually owns the sidewalk and the land underneath it. And I realize there is an ordinance that the property owner adjacent to it are the ones that are responsible for clearing it. So that's all I had to say. I'm just kind of confused a little.
And Keith, quite honestly, so was I. I do think I understand, though. I do have one other question about that, and that is, I know that the sidewalk is really kind of like the property of the private property of the owner of the property adjacent. I also know, as someone who's had a broken sidewalk, that I think the city has a program where I know I'm responsible for repairing the broken sidewalk, but I think the city has a program where you can get up to like a 50% reimbursement for the repair of that sidewalk.
That is correct, Russ. Yes, that's correct.
So I mean, literally in that case, I mean, the city is taking some, I don't know, some responsibility for the repair of that sidewalk, right?
It's within Public Works and our streets department, and it's, you know, when it's an annual fund balance, and when that fund balance is expended, so it's not an endless fund balance to use. It's kind of a first come, first serve when someone is opting to repair the sidewalk out in front of their property. Yeah, it is. I get it. It's confusing, and it's a difficult message, honestly, to understand as any property owner in our community, including if you're a business owner. You know, Keith, with your situation, I'm gonna guess that there is going to be an overarching landowner on that property where these trailers are located, and so that would be the responsible party to clear that sidewalk in front of their land.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about sidewalk. I'm just talking about the snow berm at the end of where I pull in and pull out. You know, this last year there were ice chunks, probably, well, there was at least one that was almost 3 feet around, and I couldn't even move it. I had to go and get a big rock moving pry bar to pry that stupid thing out of the way. And yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, they're nasty.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like this commission needs to have more discussion, and perhaps more discussion with the city staff folks who are involved. I see that Susan put in the chat a couple things. Susan, do you want to comment on what you put in the chat?
Yeah, I suggestions based on kind of where I'm positioned at NAU. And my background is in event planning as well. So I actually have done some corporate social responsibility events in the past, and this is a perfect example of what a day of service could be, organized event specifically. In the case of a snowstorm, here's a day of service already in place. So I do think it's something to recommend to the council to put out that call of action to our city's established organizations. And then the other one was just making sure to connect with the Center for Community Service and Volunteerism. They also have their own risk management protocols for student volunteers who are doing things in the community. And so that might be another way to extend the volunteerism component. So those were just two suggestions, listening to this conversation that I thought might be helpful.
Susan, would that include Greek Life, or do we have to reach out somewhere else for Greek Life? Because I know they have to volunteer.
Yeah, Greek Life does have volunteer requirements. They are technically separate from the Center for Community Service and Volunteerism. So that would be a secondary or even a primary approach. But the center, they could also reach out to Greek Life and indicate that this is an opportunity in town for them to get involved with. So they do communicate a lot about volunteering efforts in the community.
Do you have a point of contact for them that you could email me?
Absolutely. I can do that. Russ is the center director. I'm blanking on his last name right now, but I can get that to you.
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to add this as a discussion, an action item in next week's agenda so that we can vote on Russ putting together a letter to send to council.
Okay. I will send that email to you shortly.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, lots of good discussion on that. And as I said, I think we will be having more discussion on sidewalk obstruction and encroachments, but a lot of good learning for me at least, and I think a lot of good discussion. Next on our agenda, we should discuss our parking liaison. And Rachel, I'll let you kind of take that.
So Jamie is, years and years and years ago, we had a parking liaison that worked with the police department. And I know that has been something from the Disability Awareness Commission. And when we became the Inclusion and Adaptive Living, I think it kind of went by the wayside. We would like to refresh that program, and Jamie Martinez is willing to do that. However, I spoke with him at length yesterday, and he's thinking that perhaps it would be better to change the name to something else. We didn't have any suggestions. We're leaving it up to all of the commissioners. But Jamie doesn't drive, so he couldn't be a civilian aide for the police department, which is what I think Chief Musselman wants. Is I think he would fall into the civilian aide, and Jamie does not do that. Jamie's idea was that if there are complaints from this, if there are complaints that are sent to the city, that perhaps they could be forwarded to him, and then we would either he or the commission could work on a solution. So I think that that's what Jamie is seeing his position.
And thank you for that, Rachel. And perhaps the park liaison position has kind of evolved over time as well. Because I know a lot of discussion about accessibility kind of joined into that role as well. But I think, Rachel, what we'll do, and again, Keith and Susan, let me know if you disagree, but I think maybe we should make that an action item at our meeting next week. Okay. Stacy Salzberg, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Russ. I also think that as part of that action item, there should be some discussion by the commission and then a formal appointment, if you will, for that parking liaison. I do think that it's important for the commission to be represented as a whole in their support of this position and the individual that's going to be serving in this position. And I also think as part of that discussion, it would be really helpful, and I think we're kind of broaching that right now, is what is the very specific role of this particular liaison. And I think that that's going to probably need to include some additional conversations with our police chief or perhaps a representative from the police department to really make sure that we're honing in carefully on what that position is going to be doing. And the reason I bring that up is because it's not a liaison that's identified and appointed by council as part of the commission. And so we want to be really respectful of the fact that this is something that's coming out of the commission, but we want to work within the confines of what the role and the purpose of the commission as a whole is. I hope that makes sense.
It absolutely does. And, we have our transportation liaison, who's really appointed by NAPTA, and we have our youth liaisons who are really appointed by the community practice transition team. But this liaison is really appointed by this commission. So it is kind of unique in its, I guess, in its role. But then, of course, quite honestly, I mean, we have just been talking so much about sidewalk obstruction and encroachment, and a huge part of that discussion is actually about people parking on sidewalks. So it all kind of wraps in. And I appreciate that feedback, Stacy. I think we will make sure that it's an action item at our next meeting, but maybe an informational item as well. And then I think, Lisa, we should probably invite Chief Musselman or a representative to come and talk to us at that meeting.
Yes, I believe that we should, definitely. Do you want to invite him to next month's meeting? Keep in mind, it's just shortly before the holidays, so I don't know what his availability is.
Lisa, can you ask him if he can come, if he can't come in October, if he would come in November? Because the sidewalk issues are an ongoing action item. And so if he can't come to October, would you extend to November to him?
Absolutely. I'll send that out right now.
Okay, very good. So thanks everybody for that discussion. Stacy, thanks for that guidance. The date of our next meeting, the date of our next commission meeting will be next Wednesday, October 25th at noon. The date of our next work session will be November 15th at noon. And then with regards to our agenda for our next meeting, I think I already have a sense of what should be on the agenda for our next meeting. I think continued discussion about sidewalk encroachment and obstruction, discussion about our parking liaison, and then I think some of the things, Susan, you recommended, I think should be on our agenda as well. And then Rachel, Keith, and Susan, if you have other ideas about what should be on our agenda for our next meeting, be sure to reach out to me. But when you reach out to me, just reach out to me, because remember, even through email, we can violate open meeting law by having, 4 of us on the same email.
Affirmative. And I will reach out to you because I've got 5 items I would like to see us get out there. Whether we discuss each one at a different meeting or whether we discuss a little bit about each one or we just take a couple, however it works, but I will send you 5 items.
Keith,
Okay.
can you include me in that? And then we will talk about it in the work group next Friday after next.
And actually, and Susan, do you have suggestions too or no?
Not beyond what I've already suggested.
Okay, and I see Stacy Fobar has her hand up.
Yes, I would suggest in the future that we leave some time on the agenda where people could request future agenda items in the meeting and verbalize them rather than potentially leave ourselves open to serial communications.
Right, I think that's a good suggestion. And it is on the agenda to set the agenda for the next meeting. This new meeting facilitator kind of missed our timeline on that. So.
Right. So I would suggest just adding that to the end of the regular agendas where you can request a future agenda item and then report in with what you would like to discuss about. That way it's in an open forum, people would know, and then you can agendize them as seen fit.
Sure.
And make sure that everyone on the commission supports putting them on the agenda.
But Stacy, everyone on the commission doesn't have to support putting it on the agenda,
No,
right?
just a majority of them.
Okay.
Okay. like
Okay,
with council, we have 3 to have a discussion about the item a little bit further. And then 4 people agree to actually have a staff presentation created on the item.
mm-hmm,
So we do like to keep it in an open forum so that the public does know what's going on, so it doesn't seem to have the appearance of any secrecy happening.
right, I understand that. I also know that immediately following this meeting,
Yes,
I have a leadership meeting
yes,
with Rachel and Lisa and Mariah,
yes.
which I think we're supposed to set the agenda for our next meeting.
Right, I'm talking specifically about the items that Keith said that he was going to email you that he would like to discuss at future meetings.
Mhm.
So in
No, I
order
thought
to,
we were doing the leadership
Work
meetings.
session meetings only for my
I-
stuff.
Excuse me, I thought we were doing the leadership meetings on the 25th.
No,
At 1:30.
we decided to do it right after this meeting. That's what we talked about Friday for
Okay.
15 or 30 minutes.
Okay,
but again, for future agenda item requests, I have, as the city clerk's office, we would feel much more comfortable having Keith verbalize them in a meeting that I would like to have these items considered to be discussed in the future.
So Keith, bring it to the working group. And then what we will do is we will have 3 there. We will reach out to Susan or somebody to get that 4th after we've discussed everything. And then Russ can send an email to our liaisons to put it on the agenda.
If, yes, and I mean, of course, it's at your discretion, Russ, working with your staff liaison and with anything that's been assigned to you from council of what can be put on the commission agenda. But, you know, you can always have it on the agenda to see if the rest of the commission wants to discuss it, as long as it adheres to the authority of the commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Okay.
for our work session meetings as well.
Yes, that open meeting law applies to both the work sessions and the regular sessions.
Got it.
But not our working group meetings, because we don't have a quorum, we don't do an agenda. Those are just working group meetings.
Working groups are, of course, different, as in they are assigned by the commission to do certain tasks only. So those are not subject to open meeting laws when there's less than a quorum, and working groups can also involve members of the public who are not on the commission.
So Keith, I know that you're the 5 things that you're reaching out about, and those are specific to the sidewalk encroachment, which is why the working group was formed. And so I believe that we can move forward with just you talking about those in the ongoing discussion that we have every normal meeting.
Yeah, that's okay. But at some point, I would like to see these things go here on the work session so that, you know, other commissioners and public can see it and, you know about it and think about it so we can discuss these things at some point. So I'd like to get it onto this agenda at some point.
So Keith, following Stacy's guidance on that, at our meeting next week, let's just make sure that I provide time for us to have a discussion about what should go on future agendas.
Agendas for the work session. Okay.
And
Got
or
it.
the other
Yes.
meetings. I mean,
Affirmative. Got it.
But I need to make sure I provide time as the facilitator of the meeting to make sure we have time to discuss about what should go on future agendas. Right? So Keith,
Yep.
just remind me to do that, right?
And it probably should be agendized as well, Lisa and Mariah, just, you know, report discussion items, and then at the end, like maybe before, yeah, you already have it on their agenda for next meeting, which is where the ideas can come from. Like, I would like to request on a future agenda that we discuss this issue.
Right. And actually some of that, I mean, happened in our chat. And that's why I kind of asked Susan to speak to it, because I'm not
Yes,
sure if
please.
what goes into the chat goes into the minutes of the meeting.
It does not.
So
It is not publicly available, so we do need to be careful about what we do in the chat. While people can request the Teams meeting chat, we do need to verbalize what we are saying in there.
That's what I kind of thought. So thank you for that too. And Susan, that's why I just kind of asked you to speak to it verbally as well. But anyhow, thanks for the guidance. Keith, thanks for letting us know of some ideas there. And I think we are past our adjournment time, but unless somebody else has something they are dying to say, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Lisa and Mariah, do we just stay on this Zoom or on this
Yes.
Teams meeting? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 1:10. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your support.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Russ.
Stacy Fobar, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Mariah and Lisa, did you guys want me to hang on to, or you guys have it?
Yeah.